How's everyone doing today? Again, sorry to those of you who couldn't get into Fletcher's talk. Thank you for coming and listening to me. Hopefully I'm not going to bore the hell out of you. So as a bit of an introduction, I am a cloud engineer at DataPipe. DataPipe is a managed service provider based out of Jersey City, New Jersey. We do manage AWS. We have our own IaaS platform that's built using Citrix Cloud Platform. Citrix Cloud Platform is Citrix's commercial version of Apache CloudStack. We do managed services on our Stratosphere IaaS platform. I'm the primary author and maintainer of Knife CloudStack Fog, Kitchen CloudStack, CloudStack PowerShell, and all sorts of other wonderful CloudStack utilities and plugins. As the general disclaimer that I'm sure you've heard from most every other speaker today, my opinions are my own and aren't necessarily representative of my employer. Your mileage may vary. No code is perfect. I'm sure there are bugs in this because I'm not a professional developer, but it works, and so if you have any issues, please send pull requests. I more than happily accept 99.9% of them. So who here has used CloudStack? So actually a pretty good number of those of you here. So for you, this will be a review, but for everyone watching on YouTube, CloudStack is a virtualization orchestration platform or a cloud management platform. It can provide public, private, and VPC style clouds and works with basically every single hypervisor under the sun. First-class citizens are Xen, KVM, and VMware ESXi. It also currently supports LXC, Hyper-V, OVM, and bare metal. And just last week at the Apache Summit in Denver, they announced Docker support. So in addition to being able to spin up Linux containers as containers, you'll be able to spin up Docker images through the CloudStack API as well. It's a project that was founded in 2008 by Cloud.com. The first release was in 2010. In 2011, Citrix purchased Cloud.com. It was donated to the ASF in 2012 and made it through incubating in 2013. As kind of a differentiator between CloudStack and OpenStack, it's written in Java and Tomcat and not Python. Your opinion on that may vary. I'm not a huge Java guy, but I also am not writing the Java code, I'm just using it. It has a robust native API, and also since the 3x branch and releases of CloudStack has baked in EC2 compatibility using the AWS, SOAP, and REST APIs. So most any utility that can interact with EC2 and do your basic VM interactions, you can just point it to a CloudStack API endpoint and it will just work. So then what is Citrix Cloud Platform? Citrix Cloud Platform, because Citrix gave CloudStack itself to the ASF, they've built a commercial product around it. There are a handful of third-party plugins to CloudStack that are only available through Cloud Platform. They have some third-party and vendor integrations with primarily networking and storage vendors that, due to different licensing restrictions, can't be released under an Apache 2 license, and so they're only available from Cloud Platform. Additionally, if you buy Citrix Cloud Platform, it comes with free licensing for Xen Server. So, as many of you are aware, if you've used Chef and CloudStack, there are two Knife plugins. There's Knife CloudStack, and there's Knife CloudStack Fog. I do Knife CloudStack Fog. Other Knife people do Knife CloudStack. So why do these two plugins exist? What makes them different? And why have both of our camps really done all of this work? So Knife CloudStack actually is a bit of history before this, was a plugin based on Knife Blue Box, if I remember correctly, about 3 years ago. And now an entire rewrite was done by Edmunds. Currently it has a little bit less API coverage than Knife CloudStack Fog. And the one thing that Knife CloudStack provides is something that it looks like is now going to be available through Chef Metal, and that is stacks. And so with Knife CloudStack, you can build a JSON document that says, I need to provision these 5 servers, this is how the security group should let them talk to each other, this is how the networking topology should be, make it happen, and Knife CloudStack can do that. It's a really cool feature. It's one that I've looked at stealing and talked to some of the people that work on Knife CloudStack about stealing, and they've just kind of said, well, we really want to pull this out and just give it and make Stacks part of Chef, and it looks like that's now going to be part of Chef Metal. Knife CloudStack uses its own native API handler. That's one of the reasons why it has less API coverage than Knife CloudStack Fog. I forked it from, as I said, an earlier pre-Edmunds Knife CloudStack, which was in turn, I believe, based on Knife Blue Box, and worked 100% of the time, about 60% of the time, when I needed to provision servers and make things happen. So thankfully, I worked with a number of people who are very familiar with Fog, and so they helped educate me, and I took that plugin, refabbed it so that it actually worked 100% of the time, 100% of the time when I needed it to, and tried to submit it back to Knife CloudStack after several weeks of not getting any response from the maintainer of that project. Just said, okay, I guess I'm going out on my own. So as we use Fog, we have the full API coverage that Fog provides. For those not familiar, Fog is a cloud-independent agnostic toolkit for Ruby. If you've used Chef, whether you know it or not, you've used Fog, because Knife EC2 and most any of its cloud communications run through Fog for basically everything other than Knife CloudStack. And the initial CloudStack support was added by one of my coworkers, Brian Dory. It provides uniform-ish access to cloud resources through Fog. So theoretically, if you build a Fog connector to a cloud, you should be able to provision a virtual machine using the same semantics, whether that Fog connection is to an AWS cloud or a CloudStack cloud or an OpenStack cloud or Google Compute Engine or whatever else. In reality, because not all APIs are made equally, there is some differences between, which is why it's uniform-ish. And again, Fog is used by all of the first-party Knife plugins that interact with clouds. So what is Knife? Hopefully, if you're at Chef Conference, you know what Knife is. Knife is the command line interface for Chef, has all sorts of wonderful plugins, and yeah, hopefully you know this already. So what does Knife CloudStack Fog provide? When I was working on my initial release of Knife CloudStack Fog, all I basically had was Knife CloudStack server create, server delete, server list, and that was all I had. But I found that more and more, as I was needing to pass all of these wonderful millions of options into the CloudStack API to specify what flavor of server, what template to use, where to put it, how to set up the networking, I was constantly having to bounce between my terminal and a web browser to pull that information out of CloudStack from the API or from a web interface. And it just got to be really troublesome. So as good feature creep happens, I started adding more and more listing and creation and deletion functions, and then I've had a number of contributors that have helped add a few of these. Particularly the key pairs have been added by some of my wonderful contributors, so that we could be the one-stop shop for everything that you need to do to interact with CloudStack and use Knife. So with all of these options, what is the main thing we use this plugin for? And hopefully, like everyone else, the main thing you use Knife for is provisioning servers or editing roles, those sorts of things. But so I would like to know opinion from the audience. Would you like me to, because several weeks ago when I was preparing for this talk, I was told that we shouldn't rely on internet. Then just last week found out we do have hardwired internet for presenters. So I can run through slides showing you all of these options, or I can run through a live demo. Which would you prefer?
Good question.
Yes, sir.
How do you handle keys?
How do you handle keys?
Like if you need to provision a particular account, right? So do you have the system key or?
So I can actually walk you through that as part of the server creation process and show you. So I actually don't know if I have that particular piece in the slides. So with that you have now voted me into I'm giving a live demo. So with all of these options that are available, as you can see, there's a rather lengthy scrolly page full of different options that you can pass to the Knife CloudStack server create command. How do we start? So initially you need to pick a zone, you pick a template, and you pick service offering, so you pick flavor of the server. You set up your networking, your security group, add any of your additional options, and you launch the VM. So I'm now going to see this okay? Yeah. Okay, and I will open a second tab. No. So as I said, we have a million different options. So close that. Pick a zone. So the first thing we'll do is Knife. And I'm actually talking live with the DataPipe Stratosphere platform. So you can see here we have, and just as a little bit of insight, we at DataPipe started with CloudStack 2, specifically 2.2.14, and back in those olden days, about 3-4 years ago, all of the information, IDs, and that sort of stuff that CloudStack had were all numerical values. In the CloudStack 3x branch, because they realized that people could figure out what other people are doing, because these numerical values just incremented across all accounts, they moved from numerical values, like 3, to UUIDs, like, yeah, I'm not going to try and pronounce that. So this is why we, who have taken, moved from CloudStack 2.2.14 to now we're on 4.2.1-3, I think is the version of cloud platform that we're running. We have a lot of wonderful legacy pieces. So we're in California, so I will spin up a server in Silicon Valley. So, step 1 complete, pick a zone. Next is picking a template. So, this is going to be a lot of fun because we're going to have a giant spew of text, because the Knife CloudStack template list actually has additional features, because you can see we have Silicon Valley 2, we have London, we have templates in Silicon Valley, we have templates in Hong Kong, we have templates in Singapore, we have templates in New York, we have templates in Iceland. And so you can run filters from the CloudStack API on the list template command. And so I have I've lost my mouse, but there we go. We're going to specify definitely the zone ID so that we can limit the templates that we're looking at to just templates that are available in Silicon Valley, in the zone that we're working off of. Additionally, we can do limits on what hypervisor. We can also, in the CloudStack API, there are different classes of templates. You have featured templates, you have community templates, you have private templates, and so you, by default, I display featured templates, but you can run a filter to see other types of templates if you want through this. So we're just going to do zone ID 7, and we'll hypervisor KVM. And now we've gone from a giant list of templates to just a large number, but not insurmountable. So for this, let's go with Debian 7. So now we can template ID. That's our Debian 7 template. So next, we pick service offering. And service offering is kind of like your EC2 flavors. It says how much RAM, how many virtual CPUs you have, that sort of wonderful information. And here you can see it, with data pipe, we have single core, single gig of memory, up to 8 core, 32 gigs of memory, 64 gigs of memory. I'm just going to go for dual core, 2 gigs of memory. So that is, actually I forget the flag for that. That's the other reason that you write help for your Knife plugins, is because you don't remember this stuff, even if you wrote it. Service ID, that was correct. Service ID 44. And then ultimately, to just get the bare minimum of what we would need to provision a server, we will do security group list. I believe I can limit that to a specific zone. Actually, I don't think so. But and this will be, I'm deploying this in one of our public cloud topologies, which is spins up, VM gets a public IP, and we do all of our networking and security via security groups. We do have zones, and you can build zones in CloudStack that are, you set up a network in an RFC 1918 space, VMs get provisioned in that, you have your own dedicated virtual routing firewall device, you create port forwarding rules, all that wonderful fun stuff. But for this, just for simplicity's sake, we will just do in public. So group IDs. And there is default. So with that, I should now be able to start spinning up a server. So your question earlier of how do you handle keys, you can, I'm right now spinning up a server with no SSH key specified. When building a template, this is probably going to fail because I don't think I have my security group set to allow SSH in the world, but you can set a template to have a dynamically generated password.
No, I meant the key to connect to the CloudStack with API.
Oh, that when you have an account, you're able to provision your own API keys.
Right, but
I say this is our interface to CloudStack, and I'm going to recycle these keys after this presentation anyway. So.
But you don't supply them as a part of the Knife command. So do you save it somewhere in Knife?
So, yes. Now I understand your question a little better. Yes. In my Knife RB, here you can see CloudStack API endpoint, API access key, and the secret access key. And so you just specify those in your Knife RB. And so that way when you have your CloudStack API keys, you just copy your API and secret key into your Knife RB, and then, provided that you have your API endpoint and your keys set correctly, everything just starts working. And there, amazingly, I do have SSH open to the world. I have a server. So other options that we have, though, as I was saying before I actually fully understood your question, with CloudStack, when you're building your own template, you have the ability to install scripts that the CloudStack community has written and are supported by the management systems to randomly generate server passwords and or to inject your own private SSH key directly into the server. And so this is actually something that is completely impossible to do through the native CloudStack UI, but the API calls are there. So if we do a Knife CloudStack key pair list, we'll see the SSH keys that are and the fingerprints that are available for me to use that will be injected into the server. And trying to remember where the key is that I wanted to use. That's it. So if I were to run this again with a key pair specifying that I want my private key injected when this server comes up, rather than just having to copy and paste, hey, this is the randomly generated password for this server, it will eject on server creation the private key. We do still get a randomly generated password, but now I don't have to remember it because my keys are in place. And that's really kind of the long and short for public cloud. I additionally have, because we have a number of customers and I've seen a number of use cases of people wanting to be able to deploy in VPC style networks, but not necessarily maintain a VPN connection between their workstation and the network. We do have the ability to run through a SSH gateway host. So that way, if you have a host that is on that network with ports for SSH open to the world that you can perform a passwordless login through, you can use that to then be a gateway to the VM that you're provisioning and want to install Chef on. And then additionally, I have the random SSH port option where if you don't want to deal with a gateway host but still want a server inside of a VPC but don't want to deal with setting up networking on your own, I literally randomly generate a number above 1024, see if that's used. If not, we map that to SSH and then we perform the Knife bootstrap on that. So, and here we have yet another server that's come up, and if I picked the right key, I should be able to just log in because it has my public key. Yep. And so there I have a server. And you can do the same things that you want as you would do with in any other cloud. So if I wanted to run recipe WordPress, here in a minute we'll have a server come up and it will start installing WordPress. But while that's running, yeah, so we have the template list. We went through that. We went to service offering list, Knife CloudStack network list, which is like security group, but for networks rather than security groups. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Server create. So we have other information for disk offerings. So if you want to provision a additional data volume with the virtual machine, this is an option available in the CloudStack API. We have the ability to do that or directly through the server create process. You can specify a data disk. So in the mentality of being the one-stop shop, I then have mechanisms to list data disk offerings, key pairs we went through. I do have mechanisms for the creation of networks However, I've been working with the Fog group because network deletion isn't working right, and that's a Fog problem, not a Knife CloudStack Fog problem. I do support creation and deletion of port forwarding rules, server stopping and starting, the SSH gateway random port forwarding. So, actually I was talking with one of the nice people at Chef about this right before the talk. Chef is wanting to move their OpenStack and EC2 plugins away from being Knife EC2 and Knife OpenStack into Knife Cloud. And so I'm actually going to be talking with the fine folks at Chef over the next day or so, and I may be working with them to help provide this functionality for CloudStack into Knife Cloud. So the idea there is they want a single plugin to handle all clouds, common semantics. There's a lot of work to do because I will have to reinvent Knife CloudStack Fog using potentially different semantics to be able to be compatible with EC2 and OpenStack, but we will see what happens there in that discussion. There's been some discussion about merging Knife CloudStack and Knife CloudStack Fog. Some of the core Knife CloudStack developments are very anti-Fog, and so we'll see where things happen there. There may be a merge, there may not. I do agree that there needs to be a single point, but really that may end up being Knife Cloud rather than Knife CloudStack Fog or Knife CloudStack. Currently, I don't have any tests. Whenever I update the plugin, all of my testing is manual because I don't know how to write tests. If anyone wants to help and start writing tests for me and learn me how to do it, please, I beg of you. So, we have some bonus content. There's a test kitchen driver for CloudStack and Cloud Platform. I wrote it. It's awesome. If you use Test Kitchen, which you should be using because Test Kitchen is awesome, you can, rather than provisioning servers via Vagrant or to AWS or Docker, if you want to and have a CloudStack environment, you can do it with Kitchen CloudStack. I do have GitHub.com. Pretty decent documentation on the GitHub page showing how you configure your kitchen YAML file to support your API key, your secret key, your API URL, and do all that fun stuff. So use it, it's pretty cool. There's also a Vagrant driver for CloudStack. I didn't write this one, but someone else is awesome and did it. So if you're using the Vagrant workflow and have a CloudStack environment, you can Vagrant up, and rather than spinning up a server on your laptop, it can Vagrant up a server in CloudStack. I know that several of my coworkers at DataPipe are using this for Puppet module development. That they can just Vagrant up and have 8, 10, 12 servers spun up in the cloud. Makes them very happy. So, if this intrigues you and you want to start working in the fine, wonderful world of CloudStack, how do you get in on this? Well, as my employer sent me here, I kind of have to do a little bit of marketing song and dance for you. You can sign up for DataPipe Stratosphere. It's a global IaaS platform running on Citrix Cloud Platform. As I showed you here, it is a big and pretty world. We have CloudStack available in New York City, the New York metro area, the Silicon Valley area, London, Iceland, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Shanghai, with some discussions of some additional places going in over the next year or two. You can also install Apache CloudStack on your own. It is really, really easy to set up and install. It's a matter of you add a Yum repository and Yum install CloudStack, or you add an apt repository to an Ubuntu 12.04 instance and you apt-get update, apt-get install CloudStack. It's actually really well documented and pretty easy to do. But if that's not easy enough for you and you don't want to spend money signing up for DataPipe Stratosphere, I've built a Docker container system for CloudStack. It doesn't, CloudStack comes up, it runs. I'm still running into some issues getting it talking to hypervisors and actually provisioning virtual machines. And am in some discussions with some of the CloudStack peoples on how we want to put this in the Docker index, if they want to own it, if they want me to own it, who owns it, where we want to do this. But soon, knock on wood, soon-ish, we will have available for you the ability to Docker pull CloudStack, and you will have the ability to run your own CloudStack management system and then attach hypervisors into it and have your own cloud running out of Docker, hopefully. I would definitely not recommend it for production, but it should work. So, questions, anybody? Anyone? Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much. I would like to thank the Chef community, the Fog developers, my contributors, because there are a number of people who have contributed to my code base, and I really, really appreciate that. I will be in Marina from 3:15 to 3:55 for speaker office hours, and you guys have some free time. Hopefully your brain doesn't explode. Thank you very much.